And now joining us for the main show, I am so excited to have with us Chris Widener, one of the top 50 motivational speakers in the world. He's got 24 books out there. He is just a force for positive and good, and he's got a lot of different thoughts on the Trump assassination, the divisions within the country, where we go from here. Oh, and by the way, he's also going to be one of our main speakers as Israel Appreciation Day. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Of the People.
I thought it was my dashing good looks is why you wanted to have me on, but I will take because I'm a force for good.
What are the things that sort of stick in your craw and go, I want that question answered, and that one?
Well, I'll tell you, have you guys seen the picture that came out today? Somebody stood in the spot where Trump was. I mean, everything's gone now. They went out to the thing, they stood where he was, and they took a picture of the building.
No.
I'm shocked Trump didn't see the guy on top of the building, because, I mean, you can, like, I saw the picture. I was like, my first thought was, because Trump was looking that way. I mean, of course, the guy was kind of crawling, but had he stood up or something, you could have seen the guy on the roof. That's how close this thing was.
Right.
Pretty crazy. I have a friend who's former Secret Service. He's guarded 4 presidents and former presidents. And we had a very interesting talk. And his thing is we got to kind of sit back and listen to what their explanation is. He said, because they give certain things over to the other agencies that they're working with. And, you know, I put on 7 events a few years ago with 45,000 people in attendance. We had President Trump at 5. We had Mike Pompeo at 2. But that was a closed arena, right? So they shut that thing down for 2 days before, dogs everywhere, and, you know, the whole thing. And then behind the curtains, there was like 30 guys with M16s and full riot gear. And they had the night vision in case the lights went out. I mean, it was pretty powerful kind of, scene back there. But these open deals is really hard. But the thing that just surprises me is there's only 2 buildings you really kind of need to look at.
That's right.
One was directly to the right as you were looking out. One was directly to the right, and the other was kind of at like 11 o'clock. There wasn't a lot to cover there. It's not like you're going through he's walking down the street through downtown San Francisco where there's dozens of buildings and windows. And so my guess my first guess is that it was just really, really bad planning and strategy, and they botched it. I know somebody who works with what's called FirstNet, and most people don't know what FirstNet is, but it's AT&T driven, and FirstNet is what all first responders across the country use. And so it's a private band that they can use. And so when I was talking to this person, she said that when they come into a place like that, they can lock out a channel so that every single police, fire, whatever in that has one channel, and they're all talking to each other. So when somebody goes, there's somebody on the roof, everybody hears it. And so there's just so many questions. And you talk about conspiracy theories. I always say, look, and this is my analogy on conspiracy theories. If a woman who lives in a trailer park will cheat on her husband and get her boyfriend to kill him for $5,000 worth of life insurance, why do we not believe that people would not conspire to control the United States government, the economy, everything? So we shall see, I think. I can't hear Ericka. I see she's talking, but I can't hear her.
Oh, good golly. I said, I've got my tinfoil hat on just for this occasion. I appreciate the fact that you spoke to how the comms work, because I was like, you can't tell me that if there's police running around and there's people telling the police there's somebody on the roof, that the Secret Service don't hear that. Are you can you tell, what? And so you've confirmed that's.
The other thing is from what I've read, is the rules of engagement. You can't fire until they fire. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so
wait,
well, that's what I've heard. But if you're doing like a rope line and some guy brings a gun out, I think you'd shoot the guy. If you're dumb enough to pull a gun within 20 feet of the president, you're kind of going to meet Jesus pretty quick, right?
I actually suggested that. There's this turn of phrase called suicide by cop.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. People will, for the listeners, if you don't know, people will go out and intentionally commit crimes and do something that will make the police shoot at them so that they are killed. It almost, I mean, there's so much just wrong with the whole scenario that it really is rife for conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, you got the whole thing that it had it been done before the convention, then he hadn't picked his VP yet. I mean, but again, here's the other thing. This is the problem with government lying to the people.
Yeah.
Eventually the people stop believing you, even if, let's just say it was just really bad planning and they botched it from beginning to end. There's 100 million people in America that kind of go, yeah, I could see them setting him up and trying to kill him. Yeah, I could see the CIA doing that.
Absolutely.
Without blinking an eye, and they'll just grab their cup of coffee and keep on drinking, right? This isn't like, they're not going, ooh, they're not in some seance somewhere. These are people who are normal, regular people, but they've been lied to for so long.
Yes.
That they just they'll believe anything.
And that's what I've said is literally, there's only so many times Alex Jones can be proven right before you go, well, I don't know, maybe the frogs are gay, and then then they are gay, or I know I'm being hyperbolic, but let me make a complete sentence here.
By
Chris.
the way, Gay Frogs was the name of my first band I was in. Kidding. Never been in a band.
The post you made about whether or not we can be unified, I thought was very well articulated. And not in a way that's like, like so hyperbolic and ridiculous like some people do, but just really matter of fact. And I wondered if you would share a little bit about that with our listeners. And because we started the episode with talking about how you are Mr. Positivity, right? You are a motivational speaker. Your books are about, improving your life and doing better. Your own personal story is really something, is really spectacular. Would you share a little bit why, your opinion on whether or not the right and the left can be unified, and why or why not?
Well, and being a doomsday prophet was not my first career choice. It really does not come naturally to me. It doesn't. I hate, in many ways, I hate what I have to say every day. Because it shouldn't be this way, but it's true. And so kind of what I talked about in that video was people say, oh, can we get along? Can we be unified? Do you think we'll ever come back together? And the problem is that for the vast majority of our American history, we have all been under the same generic worldview. We'll call it the Judeo-Christian capitalistic freedom worldview. Doesn't mean that Thomas Jefferson wasn't a deist, and it doesn't mean that everybody was Jewish or Christian, but it was the worldview. There is a God, and I'm not him, right?
Yes.
And capitalism and freedom are good, and people ought to be rewarded on a meritocracy and those kinds of things. And you bring it into the 60s. Back in the day, Democrats and Republicans would disagree about. They would agree on where they wanted to go because they were all under the same worldview. But they disagreed on how to get there. Well, you can work through how to get there. And I used the analogy in the video. If you're starting in Seattle and both people agree to go to LA, one might want to go on I-5 and the other might want to go on the 101 or Highway 1, whatever they call it, the coastal one. You both want to go to LA, but you're arguing about how to get there. But if one wants to go to LA from Seattle and the other wants to go to Chicago and Seattle, the two shall never meet. One's going to go on I-5 South, the other's going to go on I-90 East, and they will never meet. They're going to go separate ways. That's where we are now because of a second worldview that has come in from starting in the 60s, and it is the classic what would you call it? Secular humanist, Marxist.
God is dead.
Godless. God is dead. Right. And so, but here's the problem. It's okay to have two worldviews, except for this. Both worldviews see themselves as having a moral imperative. It's not just, hey, we think our way is better. It's we think our way is right. We think our way is good, and your way is evil. So this is why, I mean, one of the shocking things after President Trump's assassination attempt was these man on the street things where they're talking to people. And then, of course, we see, you know, all these people. There's millions of people that wish he was dead. There's millions of people that are upset that the guy missed.
Oh my gosh, it's been so gross to see that stuff.
But it's because they believe he's evil. And my son texted me the night that it happened, and he said, "What do you think of this thing?" I said, "You call somebody Hitler long enough, eventually somebody's going to try to kill him."
Yes.
Because, I mean, think about when we were in high school. Did you guys ever play Lifeboat? They called it Lifeboat, right? You've got a lifeboat, and there's 6 seats, but there's 8 people. You know, who are you going to put in the lifeboat?
Who are you going to pick?
And who has to drown? Well, there's another one. If you could go back in time and kill Hitler in 1938, would you do it? And it creates this moral,
when he's a baby, right? Would you kill baby Hitler?
Yeah, it creates this more, well, you know, killing one to save, you know, 12 million or, you know, whatever, that's the dilemma. And so when you call somebody Hitler long enough, eventually somebody goes, well, hey, I know how to shoot a gun. I'll go do it. I'll be famous and nobody likes me anyway. Maybe this is the way everybody will like me. Yep. So the problem is that the right thinks that the left is evil and the left thinks that we are evil. And abortion would be the classic example, or a low-hanging fruit example, right? Pro-life says if you kill a baby, that's evil. So we don't want to kill any babies. And the left, their perspective, their worldview is women should have autonomous rights to their bodies and be able to do whatever they want to, and any other option is evil. So therefore, we're going to oppose you as though you are evil if you don't want to let us have choice. And the pro-life says you are evil because you want to kill a baby. They're not seeing the other perspective.
Well, and choice only when it's what I want the choice to be. You only get a choice if I say that you get a choice in that way. And it really is an authoritarian worldview, because I think that fundamentally is the difference between the left and the right. Is the right's worldview, I'll say my Christian Judeo-capitalist worldview, allows for theirs to be, you can go have your little commune and do whatever you want over there, but I'm going to be over here doing my thing. But theirs does not allow for me to have my own position.
Yeah. Well, and this comes down to the fact that I wrote an article for the Chattanooga, and I live here in Chattanooga. We had the big drag show debate thing here a couple of years ago, and we passed a law in Tennessee that I was very involved in getting passed, where you have to be 18 or over. And so I wrote an article called "How Can Conservatives and the LGBTQ Community Get Along?" And here was my premise. If we accept that the other has the right to believe what they want to believe and do what they want to do. So what I said in the article was, if you're a man and you want to dress up like a woman and dance on tables, just nobody under the age of 18. But here's what I said. I said, look, and greater Chattanooga is maybe 400,000 people in Hamilton County. I said, look, I am a wealthy man, Christian, Republican, conservative. I got 5 boxes checked against me with
you're done.
100,000 people in my greater area where I live. There's at least 100,000 people that would look at me and say, I can't stand that guy. He's horrible. You have to accept that I'm entitled to be part of society, and I will accept that you are part of society. But here's what they want. They don't want acceptance. They want approval. They want approval.
Yes.
And beyond approval, once they get you to approve, then they will demand that you advocate. So it's not enough to just accept me. It's like when a Christian says, well, you know, it's sin. And they go, well, you can do it if you want. I don't care. It's just my personal belief. That's not enough. You have to believe that they're good. And then once you believe that they're good, then you have to go tell everybody else they're good.
Well, and isn't this even almost like, this is maybe too deep. And you tell me if you want to answer before our commercial break or after. Okay. I see the left, and I'm speaking pejoratively, this worldview that we're talking about. I see that as an extension of generations of fatherless, divorced homes. It's like everybody has mommy and daddy issues, and they're looking to the world for the validation that they didn't get from their parents.
Yeah.
And because they have no God, they have to extract it from the world by force.
Yeah. Well, and of course the Democrats step in. They are the state is God. I mean, look at what just happened in California, where Newsom signed the deal that said that teachers don't have to communicate with the parents about if they want to become transgender or change their gender, or those kinds of things. Parents are now out. The new parent is the state, which is exactly what they've always wanted. They want the state to be God. And so you answer to the state. The state's biggest enemy or biggest competition is God, because it's where do your allegiances lie?
Correct. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, you guys. Well, hopefully when we get back from this here commercial break, Sir Robert Chernin will be back with us. It definitely is one of those days where technology is conspiring against him. It is spectacular. It's something to behold.
Putin. Ericka, it's Putin.
It's
Putin
YouTube. They're censoring us.
Our podcast.
Okay, hold on. So on that note, you guys, to really, really make the Google overlords angry, let's hear about Israel Appreciation Day, which Chris Widener is going to be a speaker at. We're going to see a little commercial about it coming up in September.
Why Israel Appreciation Day? Because no one is telling the Israel story about why Israel's existence is so important, not just as a Jewish state and not just as an ally of the United States, but for all the positive achievements Israel has contributed to the world in science, technology, medicine, human rights, religious freedoms, rule of law, democracy, and so on. We need to start winning the public relations information war and change the narrative, especially among our younger generations. We need to get the information out there and arm those people who understand the seminal importance of Israel to the world. And being the Jewish homeland doesn't begin to tell that story of why Israel is so important. It's something we all can come together on, and honestly, it's something we all must come together on. It is imperative the general public understands the nature of the very special relationship between Israel and the United States and Israel's importance to the world. So please join us on September 18th in Washington, D.C. as we celebrate Israel Appreciation Day. You'll also be able to find us live on all the streaming channels, including Roku, Apple TV, Dish Network, and others. Because never again is now.